All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Bills Guys, presented by the Buffalo Fanatics. Well, not the podcast network, just presented by Buffalo Fanatics in general. My name is Steve Mathis. You can find me on Twitter at Judge Mathis, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host Tilt Money. Well, my co-host Dave Tilton. You can find him on Twitter at Tilt Money. That's what I get for thinking while I am speaking. And before we start today's show, I just want to say, hello to everyone here. Buffalo Bills fan is already in. As you guys roll in, let us know you are here in the comments section. And I just want to start off by saying this. No offense to people whose go-to social media platform is, Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. But I think I can safely say that for you and I, Dave, our go-to form of social media is Twitter. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I'm pretty much exclusively on Twitter. I mean, I'm on Instagram, but I don't post. But Twitter is really the only social media platform where I'm really ever posting much of anything.
Yeah, so you guys in the comments section, those of you who are joining us week in and week out, if you want to be an even bigger part of the Bills, guys, head over to Twitter if you are on Twitter. Follow us at Judge Mathis. Follow us at Tilt Money. We follow back, especially to our loyal viewers here, and we can keep the commentary going all week long. It doesn't have to just be 1 hour window every Tuesday and Thursday night. We can keep the conversation going on Twitter. So make sure you're following us on Twitter at Judge Mathis, at Tilt Money, at the Bills Guys. Shoot us a message, shoot us a DM. We'll make sure that we follow you guys and we can keep this conversation going all the time.
Yeah, and again, a quick shout out to a couple of our loyal viewers onto this show. Truth to Hearts is in the house. Ryan Thiel's in the house, a former super chatter. We got Daniel Gowries. He's always in the house. So appreciate you guys tuning in as always. We know you guys have been here for several weeks now.
And as always, we want to thank people who make the decision to super chat. Super chats go a long way to help us, fund things like these fancy backgrounds and these nice T-shirts and these headphones and all these things. It helps keeps the production at Buffalo Fanatics going. So we really do appreciate the super chatters. We shout you out every single week at that bottom banner, and at the end of every month we give a nice giveaway. I know Corey Buffalo. I shouldn't say from Buffalo. Turns out he's not from Buffalo. Won himself a Buffalo versus everybody T-shirt. So he asked, I ran up the flagpole, and even though, thank you, Mark. We appreciate the super chat here of $1. Thank you so much, Mark. We really do appreciate that. I ran up the flagpole. By the flagpole, I mean I texted Pierre. Oh, Steven, what's up? Thank you so much, man. We really do.
Another loyal listener, viewer.
Another loyal listener. Your name's already on the bottom scroll, my friend. Thank you so much. And it was a funny story. Corey emailed me. Turns out he's from Alabama, but maybe I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry, but he's from outside of Buffalo. He said, "Hey, can I get that Buffalo Fanatics shirt, even though it's not in the BF fan shop? It's sold by a separate company." And I said, "I'll run up the flagpole," which again is just me texting Pierre, and he said, "No doubt about it." So Corey Buffalo got himself a Buffalo versus everybody T-shirt for being a super chatter. So we really appreciate that. We really appreciate all our super chatters and all those things that you do. Metallica 92, what's he got to say here?
I don't know. I think you clicked that one. WGR brings on Lombardi all the time. We're going to get to this. So keep those comments coming about Lombardi and WGR, because that is going to be something we talk about here in a second. So,
all right. And then Corey confirmed he is from Buffalo. He just lives in Alabama now. All right. So thank you, Corey. I like the new. That's new. That is a new profile picture you got there. So I really
new profile picture for Corey. And Steven, obviously already super chatted tonight. He says, no problem. You guys do way more for me than I do for you. Well, I mean, we're trying, right? So we hope you guys all really enjoy the show. And we know if you keep kind of tuning in, it means we're doing something right, I think. Pierre giving the shout out as well to Corey again. So yeah, for sure. We really appreciate that, guys.
All right. So as always, we start the show with a countdown. It's 50 days until football season, but I'll tell you what, the NFL announced today, Hall of Fame game canceled, Hall of Fame weekend canceled. Are you concerned that we might be more than 50 days away from football, that we might not have a preseason, Dave?
Well, yeah, I mean, I am concerned, right? Because it seems like if you think about this in kind of how the shape or the trend line was going, right? We're kind of trending upwards, returning to facilities, returning to like team activities. And then it seems like now we're kind of trending back downwards, right? We've had players test positive, which I don't think was a huge surprise, but now you've got sort of some pullback, right? Some pullback from obviously the Hall of Fame game being canceled. Now there are talks about, tarping off the first, 6 to 8 rows of stands, which I don't think was totally a surprise, but each domino that kind of falls is another sort of bad sign, I think, for having any semblance of like a normal preseason at this stage, right? So first dominoes drop, Hall of Fame games canceled. Like there's no buffer now. It's either now you're going to either start canceling actual like regularly scheduled preseason games, or you're going to have to come up with some kind of alternative. So.
All right, we actually have a super chat in here. So remember, super chatters get priority. So we're going to put a pause on that conversation real quick. And Cody Finney, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, if you guys had to root for any other team, and feel free if you guys in the comment section to comment as well, root for any other team other than the Buffalo Bills, whom and why would you root for that team? I will start here because mine's pretty easy. I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals because one, I live here, so I could go to the games. Two, my fiance's family, all Cardinals fans, so I can win some brownie points with the extended fam. And Kyler Murray is just fun to watch. So I have all three of those reasons to be a Arizona Cardinals fan if I was forced to root for any other team. How about you, Dave? Panthers fan? Could you root for the Panthers?
Nope. It's not Panthers for me. For me, it's the Packers, and it's kind of as far away from being sort of a rival to the Bills as you can get. Like the Bills and Packers rarely play each other. My wife's family, all huge Packers fan. My brother is actually a Packers fan. I've learned a lot about the history of the Packers and talking to my father-in-law over the years. It's kind of made me interested in the team. And I like that it's a small town team, right? Which is kind of like the equivalent of the Bills, right? In the NFC. So for me, it's the Packers.
All right. Thank you, Cody. So, back to the sort of NFL real quick and restarting the league. I think we talked a little bit on our last show, and we kind of talked a little bit about sort of you hear both sides of the debate. You hear the people on the left saying numbers are rising, all of these things. Oh, wow, we got another super chat here tonight. Gary Sneezak, we want to really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for that. So we talked about like the left side. The left side is the numbers of cases in the United States are going up, up, and up. It's a worldwide pandemic. It's all these things. But then you look at what the other side of the argument is saying, people on the right, and they're saying, yes, cases are going up, but death rates are going down. And if you just think about it, most NFL owners, whether it's the Pagulas or the Krafts or the Snyders of the world, the Jerry Joneses, they're mostly Republican. They mostly agree with that right-wing mindset. And they're going to use the excuse of, well, young people aren't dying from this. Our players, they get it. They're mostly asymptomatic. These are the excuses that the NFL is going to throw out. I can picture them canceling preseason altogether and maybe doing some inter-squad scrimmages, but I can't see them delaying the start of the season. I can't picture them canceling the season, all of these things. Unless something drastically changes, I think the NFL has enough sort of an argument to play the season. And that's where the NFL really differentiates from places like the NBA, where people in the NBA like to think of themselves as very woke, and you'll see a lot of liberal takes. And I'm generalizing here, of course. And on the NFL side, you see a lot more, right-wing takes. So it's all about what evidence you choose to use, sadly enough, in this day and age. The NBA is playing in that bubble. They're using a different they're sort of using different talking points. I think the NFL is going to go the ways of the Clay Travises and the Donald Trumps, and they're going to say things like, young people aren't being affected. We'll protect the people we need to protect. If you have it, you'll sit down for 2 weeks, all of those things. So I think that's the way the NFL is going to probably try to handle this. And Ryan, Theo, thank you so much. This is a big night for us here. We got a $10 super sticker. So thank you so much for that. Ryan, we really appreciate that. We appreciate you as always. I think you're another name that was already on that bottom ticker there. So we really appreciate your super sticker there. Thank you so much. So, all right, this brings us into our sort of first topic of the day today. And that first topic is Mike Lombardi. And Mike Lombardi went, and first of all, I want to give Joe Miller Wired from the voice, Joe Miller Wired of the Overreaction podcast. I want to give him a huge shout out, and hopefully we're not stealing his thunder here. Hopefully this isn't too much of his Monday show, but he pointed us all in the direction of a interview that Mike Lombardi did on One Bills Live with Steve Tasker the other day. And in this interview, Mike Lombardi had three big takeaways. His first takeaway was that Josh Allen is inherently inaccurate, and he's never seen a quarterback who is inaccurate in college succeed and change in the NFL, and that Josh Allen cannot be fixed. His second take was that the Bills roster is Super Bowl caliber,
Mm-hmm.
and that our biggest hole is the quarterback position. And if we replace Josh Allen with a Lamar Jackson, he would have, we would be Super Bowl contenders. And third, he comments Cam Newton would turn teammates to his side if he was on the Buffalo Bills in a training camp battle with Josh Allen, that Cam Newton is a top 10 quarterback in the league right now, and that he's better than 22, which means he's better than 22 team starters, which I think is a little outrageous. Before we have some takeaways from Mike Lombardi, before I hear your reaction to that, Buffalo fan with another super chat here, 199 says, how much will no less fans impact the play of the Bills? We actually mentioned this on a previous show. I think that it hurts the Bills from a crowd noise perspective because the Bills typically have a lot of crowd noise. But I think the Bills still have some advantages. Ralph Wilson Stadium or New Era Field is built into the ground. So the wind actually plays a huge factor. Kickers talk about it all the time, about how the wind and sort of the weather plays a huge factor in Buffalo. So I think Buffalo would still have more advantages going forward than maybe some other teams that play in a dome. Any quick thoughts here on that, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, right? I think from a home field advantage standpoint, it definitely hurts the Bills if there's fewer or less fans, because we're known to have one of the tougher home, places to play environment wise. The wind, yes, that is a factor, but again, like both teams are playing in that wind, so like to the extent that our players are more used to it, that's fine. But from a crowd noise and just an atmosphere standpoint, I think it does probably affect the Bills more so than other teams. You talk about like teams like the Chargers or the Jaguars or the Titans, who like those are the teams it's really not going to affect as much. But like teams like the Bills, it's going to affect teams that have like notoriously kind of strong home field advantages because of the crowd noise. It will affect those teams more.
This is an interesting take from Elliot. He says, guarantee the Bills Mafia will be tailgating. If they decide they're going into the game, they will get in there. I can just picture people like throwing themselves through fired folding chairs and all these things, all while like police in riot gear are standing out and like blocking them from getting into the stadium. It's going to take a lot to keep Bills Mafia out of the stadium. Cody's been asking how we watch Bills games. I have Sunday Ticket on my Xbox. I don't know how you watch it. So
Sunday Ticket. I have Sunday Ticket. Got what I usually do is I've got the nice like surround sound set up in here. I've got the one TV on above the fireplace, and then what I usually do is I bring out another TV that we can like cycle through all the other games, and then keep the Bills game on one other TV. So that's how I do it.
Yeah, so Sunday Ticket for the both of us. Daniel Gowry's commented Brett Favre and Cam Newton not accurate in college. Going back to our comments that Mike Lombardi were making that we just spoke to previously. So what were your reactions to sort of the synopsis of what Mike Lombardi had to say on One Bills Live to Steve Tasker, who was literally giving him no clapback, nothing, wasn't interrogating him, wasn't asking him questions, wasn't challenging him whatsoever, was just giving Mike Lombardi free run to just bash Josh Allen and make this claim that Cam Newton is a top 10 NFL quarterback without challenging him at all.
Yeah, I mean, look, Bills Mafia is not this is not a surprise to hear hate on Josh Allen, right? We even had a whole show about hate on Josh Allen from the national media, from ESPN, whatever. I think what makes this one a little bit more twisting the knife is that it was on One Bills Live, and Tasker just kind of sat there and just took it. It didn't like challenge him, didn't ask any questions back. And it seemed like this was like a little bit more of on like the extreme take side, like sort of like a first take or undisputed type of like situation. But the difference being there was only one side. There was no one to argue back the other side because Steve Tasker just sat there. So it was almost like if Skip or Shannon or Stephen A or Max was making an argument that Josh Allen to the extreme was this super inaccurate quarterback, blah, blah, blah. And there was no one back there to make the counter argument. So that's why I think it felt a little, off there. As far as the Cam Newton thing, like, look, I believe Cam Newton, I mean, he should be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I mean, there's questions around his shoulder. We know we haven't seen him play to the top caliber that, he's had in years past in his most recent seasons. I mean, if you think about not this past season, but the prior season, when he was actually on pace to have like a really great season and kind of like tweaked his shoulder like towards the end of the regular season, and it was never really quite the same after that. I think that's a concern. Like, to me, like, if people want to talk about why he hasn't signed, I think that's probably the biggest reason is because people haven't been able to check out his shoulder, all that. I mean, with COVID stuff, but I mean, top 10 quarterback in the NFL is probably a stretch. Was he that at one point in time? Yes. Could he get back to that? I don't know at this point in his career that he could. I think he could be a serviceable starter in the NFL. So again, it's just more of like taking that kind of stance to the extreme. And then when you throw the Josh Allen hate on top of that, it probably riles people up quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Steve Tasker not having a counter argument. And if I was conducting that interview, here are some of the things that I would have said to Lombardi as I was questioning him. Number one, I would have said, you were a senior executive in the Oakland Raiders organization when they drafted Jamarcus Russell #1 overall. So you're sitting here trashing on Josh Allen when you drafted one of the more inaccurate quarterbacks ever coming out of college, the big arm guy, the guy who could throw it 80 yards from his knee, the guy who's one of the biggest busts of all time. So you were a part of taking Jamarcus Russell #1 overall. So
and never had any semblance of success in the NFL.
Yeah.
Why not add that, where Josh Allen at least has in 2 years? So, sorry.
Second thing I would say, no, by all means, chime in whenever you feel the need to. 1 year as Cleveland general manager. 1 year. He was fired after 1 year. I know they have a revolving door. And I'm trying to look at this at both ends of the spectrum here because he had 1 year as Cleveland GM. He inherited Brandon Weeden, who was a first-round bust. And his decision that offseason was not to draft a quarterback. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because the quarterback class was the E.J. Manuel, Geno Smith, Mike Glennon draft. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. But then you look at the free agency crop. Joe Flacco was franchised. It was the Tim Tebow to the Patriots year. It was a weak quarterback crop too. So people are going to be willing to give Mike Lombardi a pass. But I'm not so willing to give Mike Lombardi a pass because he made the decision to sign Jason Campbell, a guy he knew from his time in Oakland, a guy who had put up very mediocre stats his entire career. Very mediocre stats. That was the same exact year the Buffalo Bills cut ties with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, Mike Lombardi later on this interview goes on to say that it's a travesty that the NFL is not giving Cam Newton a shake and that Cam Newton is better than all these other quarterbacks. He knew Jason Campbell. He knew what kind of quarterback Jason Campbell was. Jason Campbell was a quarterback for 1 more year. He was so bad in Cleveland, went off to Cincinnati, and was out of the NFL. 7 years later, a guy named Ryan Fitzpatrick is still starting quarterback in the National Football League. You're telling me that Mike Lombardi never placed a phone call to Ryan Fitzpatrick, that Mike Lombardi wasn't willing to do what it took to get Ryan Fitzpatrick into Cleveland, a guy whose past success was far superior to that of Jason Campbell? I mean, give me a break, Mike Lombardi. This is hypocrisy 101. You did the same thing with Jason Campbell, a guy you knew, a guy you were comfortable with, not wanting to fluster Brandon Weeden and see if you could salvage Brandon Weeden instead of going after the better quarterback in Ryan Fitzpatrick. So he did the same exact thing. All right, I'm starting to get a little fired up here. I see overreaction is in here, and this is where, Joe Miller Wired, I might be stealing a couple of your takes here. You can't bash Josh Allen's accuracy, which is what Mike Lombardi was doing 1 minute, and then tout Cam Newton 5 minutes later. One of the least accurate quarterbacks over the last decade. You can't say a quarterback can't get better with accuracy, and you can't say a quarterback with bad accuracy can't be successful, and then say Cam Newton is a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League. Cam Newton was successful and improved his completion percentage over his career. Again, it's hypocrisy 101 from Mike Lombardi. And then I'm not trying to knock Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is a very good quarterback. He's a very good quarterback prospect. He may well have an outstanding career. But we saw in the playoffs last year, Lamar Jackson was exposed. He cannot throw outside the hashes without much success like a Josh Allen can do. He doesn't have the arm talent for it. So let's see how this offense, which is catered to him, holds up over time. He might have some success this year because they have the weakest schedule in the National Football League. But 2, 3, 4 years down the road, let's see if people are still talking about Lamar Jackson like they are talking about Lamar Jackson this year. Joe Miller pointed out in his video today, which I can't believe only has less than 1,000 views right now. Get over to Twitter, head over to the Overreaction Sports Twitter handle, and watch this video that Joe Miller pumped out. I mean, Lamar Jackson in the playoffs last two years, 50% completion percentage, sacked 11 times. Unbelievable. And you're going to say that you're willing to give a guy like Lamar Jackson the benefit of the doubt, but you're not willing to give Josh Allen the benefit of the doubt? See how Josh Allen grows? And then to call him Cam Newton a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League, I think is completely outrageous as well. I mean, I'm not trying to knock Cam here, and I realize I'm sort of I'm talking from a pedestal here. I'm up on my soapbox here, and I'm running kind of long, so I'm going to finish with this. I think Cam Newton can be a good quarterback in the National Football League. I think his arm can be rehabilitated. I love his fire. I love his drive. I love his mindset. I think he could be a successful quarterback again somewhere. But to say that right now he's a top 10 quarterback, his last, since 2015, when he had 35 touchdowns to 10 interceptions, he's thrown 19 touchdowns to 14 interceptions, 22 touchdowns to 16 interceptions, 24 touchdowns to 13 interceptions, all with around 60 or below 60 completion percentages. He played 2 games in 2019, and his last 2 injuries, it was a pretty debilitating ankle injury for a guy who's known for using his escapability and running, and a throwing shoulder injury. Peyton Manning was jealous of the ducks he was throwing last year. So to say that this guy can be a top 10, you can guarantee that he's a top 10 quarterback right now, seeing his production the last 4 years and seeing the 2 injuries he's coming off of, it's absolutely outrageous. Absolutely outrageous to make that claim. And the fact that Steve Tasker didn't challenge it disgusts me. Like, One Bills Live is unwatchable. It's unwatchable with a guy like Steve Tasker because there's no substance whatsoever to the things that they talk about. Chris Brown is great. There's substance there. But when Steve Tasker has left his own devices, there is absolutely no substance on that show. None whatsoever. All right, I'm off my soapbox.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just want to add one thing here, and I liked John's comment here. It's not like he's an inaccurate on every throw. I hate the blanket inaccuracy. He throws pinpoint passes and non-pinpoint, just like every other QB in the league. The difference is checkdowns. And I think the difference is some of those shorter throws that require a little more touch, and it's well documented that his deep ball percentage wasn't great last year. But if you take a look at what Josh Allen did on those 15 to 20-yard throws almost every week consistently, he's throwing lasers into John Brown on those curl routes on the sideline. He's throwing lasers into Cole Beasley as he's crossing over the middle of the field. So, like, watch some of those throws, like the Dallas game, the throw to Cole Beasley, the Giants game, the throw to, I think it was Tommy Sweeney on the right sideline. I mean, he's made some very, very accurate throws in his career. And all we're looking at is just for a little more consistency on some of the other throws. I mean, it's not one of these things where you can do like box score scouting and say, oh, Josh Allen's under 60%, so he's not an accurate passer. Like, I don't think that's a fair statement to make. And let's be real here. He jumped a significant amount from year 1 to year 2 in completion percentage. I think he went from like 52 to 50, almost 59% from year 1 to year 2. A 6% increase in completion percentage from year 1 to year 2 is pretty impressive. And now again, going into year 3, maybe he hits that 60%. So again, I like that comment from John. The blanket statements are kind of getting old, and it's likely people that really don't watch a lot of Bills football.
Yeah, Cody Finney, I think we'll end it with this comment here. He said, I'd like to see Allen check it down like 5 times a game. That's 5 easy completions a game. I'm with you, Cody. I mean, we've talked at length on a couple of our shows about how having Stephon Diggs and John Brown on the outside is going to take a lot of pressure off of Singletary and Moss and Knox and Cole Beasley. So there will be more stuff open underneath for the Bills than in years past. It's not going to be as crowded towards the line of scrimmage. So hopefully Josh Allen can take advantage of that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have some special guests tonight. So we're trying something new tonight. We didn't roll in our guests right away. And we unfortunately told these guys that we would talk for about 10 minutes, but there were so many super chats that we ran a little long. So we want to apologize to these 2 guys. We're going to bring them on now. It is Jeramy, also known as Buffalornia, and Max, also known as Cinco de Maxo, from the Bills Overdue podcast. It airs weekends on the Buffalo Fanatics podcasting network. And before I let these 2 guys introduce yourselves, here's what I want to say about these 2 guys. And we're going to get to Cody's super chat in a second, and we'll let these guys chime in as well. And that is, this is one of the funniest podcasts out there, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you right now, there's so many Buffalo Bills podcasts out there. The market is saturated, but this is the only true Buffalo Bills comedy show. If you're a big fan of those things on Barstool, like Pardon My Take, you need to hop on Saturday mornings and listen to the Bills Overdue podcast on the Buffalo Fanatics podcasting network. I like to tell people, it's easy to be funny. Like, I can be funny, but it's never actually easy to be funny, like, consistently. Like, if you try to be funny, it's difficult. Whenever I'm funny by accident. Like, it's complete accident, or it's complete happenstance, or I was like completely set up, or like I was enlightened for 5 seconds. These 2 guys legitimately bring the funny for like an hour and a half every weekend. And it's really hard to be consistently funny. So I'm going to give these 2 a chance to introduce themselves. Then we're going to get to Cody's comment, and then we will hit on these two guys' topics for the day. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. That was a heck of an introduction.
Yeah.
How about you guys explain your show in your own words for a second real quick?
Yeah. I'll go first because alphabetically I go first, B before C.
Makes sense. I'll let you take it.
But thank you for calling it a comedy show. We kind of we like to dance around like the genre. If we weren't just trying to be funny and we tried to be like serious, like analysts and break stuff down, we would be just like every other podcast and it would be nowhere near as good. So for us to have the edge, we said, what are we going to do to make this different? Actually,
also, we would show how dumb we are because we don't know football as well as you guys do. That's for sure. Yeah. Judge, we leave the evaluations of the undrafted free agent quarterback out of Central Connecticut. That's for you. That's not our area.
Yeah,
I think he's on the Bengals roster, actually.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I remember one of our group chats, like Pierre was listing every part and they mentioned us and they mentioned fan personalities. And I was like, that's us. Like that has to be us. We don't fit all the other labels. So yeah, we just kind of wanted to like give like the fan perspective, like the not professionals at anything, although we claim to be on the podcast. We claim to be for fun, but yeah, we just said, let's just make people laugh because that's just, it's slightly different from what anybody else is doing. We're like, pardon my take, without the budget. And that's probably it.
Yeah. We are pardon my take without the budget. I love that you think that, we're like pardon my take and those guys at Barstool are pretty funny. But yeah, I think we just try to have fun with every show. And honestly, the topics just come to us spur of the moment, and we just kind of we do a little planning, but it's really kind of just off the riff a lot of our stuff, and we go on crazy tangents, as listeners of the show know, and it's just it's really fun.
We really depend on sports to build our show. If nothing's happening, then we kind of panic and we're like, oh God,
yeah.
The extra
This comment from Cody actually fits in perfectly for you guys' appearance on the show, because before you guys hopped on, I know you could hear us. We were discussing Josh Allen and what he can do to sort of, increase that completion percentage. And Cody I think Allen's biggest problem is he needs to add a little more finesse on his passes. He's trying to laser it in there with his fastball too much. You guys, I think, would think that this is going to be a huge problem from Josh Allen, because what is the topic of your guys' next show? Like, are you concerned? Because I know the topic of your next show is going to be what?
Of our show?
Yeah. What was that nice little caption you had today?
Max.
I put out a little preview on our Twitter, and the lower third said Josh Allen thick ?
Double C.
Apparently, double C. Apparently, some people on Twitter were remarking that maybe he's gotten a little chubbier, a little bigger in the face or something. But I didn't see it. I think Josh Allen's always been kind of a bigger guy. And so I think that comment on Twitter is just kind of, I think people are just catching up. People are just, it's also the facial hair. Yeah.
Thick with 2 C's is a compliment. People like,
yeah.
So, but the question is, what's making him more thick? Is it muscle or is it not so much muscle? I don't know. My theory is that he was just trying to make Sam Darnold feel better about himself, so he just didn't bring too much.
Elliot chiming in with Allen's neck beard is thick, so
yes,
there's I don't know, maybe he can get a little that Ryan Fitzpatrick gunsling to him, but
got to bring it up.
Yeah,
thing, though, since it's a different beard, so maybe like. It's a different kind of gunsling, like a more accurate, maybe not, because Fitzpatrick's beard, it would be accurate, and his would be like inaccurate because it's a little below the jawline there. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm not funny like you guys.
I can state from
you're hilarious
experience that facial hair can continue to change until like your mid-20s. So Allen is still, changing in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's developed for me yet, Jeremy.
I don't think Max has ever had facial hair.
I haven't hit my mid-20s yet. I'm waiting for my mid-20s. Once I hit my mid-20s, then it's going to happen. I'm sure
Max is the floor, Roethlisberger's the ceiling, Josh Allen's working his way up.
Yeah. You know, I
All right. Oh,
I thought
sorry,
that
you
was
can go.
I was just remarking. I've said this on our podcast before, but it's really Jeremy and I. Our faces are like complete opposite in that I have the hair on the top of my head, whereas he has the hair below his head, and it's really just like I'd like to see what it'd be like if I had his beard and he had my hair.
Have
I'm
you guys
sure
ever
there's an
seen
app
that?
can do that.
Have you guys seen that Ezekiel Elliott picture where like they flip his face upside down and it's like the same upside down as it is? Yeah, check that out. Like his beard was so thick that when they flipped his head upside down, it looked
It looked the same. Oh wow.
Yeah, you got to check that out. Yeah.
You could put both of your faces into like a baby generator and see what a baby between you guys would look like. I don't know what that
Max,
might
Max has been wondering
Yikes.
that for a while.
We gotta get
All
the
right.
show back on the rails.
All right, let's get back onto let's get back on the tracks here. Our second topic for today is going to be Bills players who could sort of shake up the roster a little bit. Some new blood, in this case, 2 draft picks that we're going to be talking about today that could really have a huge impact on the roster that maybe we're not expecting. Jeremy, we're going to start with your topic today. And what's the question or the topic that you sort of want to pose for us to talk about and for the viewers to chime in on in the comment section?
So my question, I'm going to kind of, I don't know, I want to kind of propose it as a take, and you can tell me maybe how crazy it is or maybe how realistic it is. And that is, at some point throughout this season, could Zach Moss take that RB1 position? There it is. Go. Do you want more, or is that enough?
No,
that's enough.
Dave, we'll start with you, man.
Yeah. Okay. So I talked about this a little bit last week because we were talking about running back projections for the Bills this year. We were talking more so on touchdowns, but we're really there was a good comment last week, and someone said, "Is Singletary going to be the kind of the guy on early downs? Will Moss come in at some point and kind of be the third down guy?" And I kind of look at this backfield as like you look at Zach Moss and sort of his body type and his running style. Zach Moss to me is more of a 3 down back body than a Devin Singletary. So while I think early in the season, you're going to see Devin Singletary probably getting the lion's share of the carries on early downs, Zach Moss coming in maybe short yardage situations or other kind of special situations. I think that from a build standpoint, that Zach Moss probably has more potential to be a 3 down back. Now, with that being said, the Bills don't really operate that way, right? Like hasn't been since probably like McCoy several years ago where we really had a guy that was getting that 20 to 25 carries a game. So while I think that kind of throws a little bit of wrench into this conversation, I would be cautious to call either one of these guys, maybe like the 1A or the 1B down the road. I think it'll be Singletary to start the season, but I think what you'll see kind of down the road is that they'll rotate him in. But body-wise, I think Zach Moss probably has the better body shape and kind of style to be a complete 3 down back.
I agree about Singletary would definitely start it off because with Moss as being a rookie, McDermott, he's going to make them like earn it, just like he made Singletary earn it like last year. So I guess the question was, once Moss has kind of shown his capacity, like once he's done that, will it kind of be like a battle for like RB1 for both of them? So that was kind of my question, but I agree with that absolutely.
Yeah, we have a comment here. Sorry, I clicked the wrong one. From Andrew Miller, and he said definitely not early. Because McDermott came out and said rookies are going to be brought in slow. I've made this comment on a few.
I couldn't
podcasts
agree with that
now
more.
With Matt. I think back to McDermott's rookie year and guys like Matt Milano and Levi Wallace. It took them 8-9 weeks to get sort of brought in. They got brought in real slowly, even though it was clear that they were better than Phillip Gaines and it was clear that they were better than Ramon Humbert. Like McDermott made them earn it. He made them pay their dues. He made them practice. And this is a shortened off season where there is no OTAs and who knows, what things you will and will not be able to do in training camp. And I sort of took that information last week when we were talking about running game expectations. And I said that I think early on in the season, it's going to be 80-20 Singletary. I really don't think we're going to see that much of Zach Moss at all. So it's going to be very hard for Zach Moss to really prove what he can do with maybe 20% of the snaps. I'm talking like 15 carries to 5 carries or 15 touches to 5 touches. Now, if he really explodes and does a lot with those 5 touches a game, he's going to leave the Bills no choice but to put him on the field more. Or if Devin Singletary gets hurt, he'll get on the field and prove what he can do. But the issue you run into is how much is he going to be on the field, and like what kind of rhythm is he going to be able to get into to show what he can do, to really be able to elevate himself and get above Devin Singletary without sort of, without sort of that time. So I think best case scenario is by week 8, by week 9, by week 10, it goes from 80-20 to like 60-40, where we see a guy like Devin Singletary getting 12 to 15 a game and a guy like Zach Moss getting like 6 to 10 a game or 8 to 10 a game, where they're both involved in the offense. They both get limited touches so they can be fully like charged when they're out there and fully ready to go and break off big runs and do the things that they do without being sort of, winded and all those things. But it should be interesting. I can't picture it this year just because of that, as Andrew said, that sort of shortened off season.
Yeah, I mean, you think about what Singletary did in the very first Jets game. He had 4 carries for like 70 yards. So he really caught like the defense off guard, and he showed it for most of those games. Unfortunately, the hamstring injury got. If he didn't have that, I would almost imagine the switch from Gore to Singletary probably would have happened sooner. But so you think for Zach Moss, I don't know if he can come in and take 4 carries and produce 70, 75 yards. But the reason I brought it up is, like I said, I feel like they have so many similarities. Moss is probably a little bit more of the power back, but he's also got like that receiving ability. Singletary can like break and shed tackles, but they both have like the same speed. So I feel like, experience wise, that's the only reason I put Singletary a little bit up. But they're both, I think they're going to be. I know Singletary is fantastic. If Moss proves himself, then I think they'll both just be like 2 fantastic running backs. So it's just
One thing I'd say with that is I think it's pretty clear that under Sean McDermott and with this Bills regime that there's never going to be a bell cow back in Buffalo under this regime. I don't think you're going to see a single guy getting a huge, incredible load of carries. I think it's going to be split pretty evenly, and I think it's going to be maybe not early on because Moss is a rookie, but I think when you get to midway through the season, I think it's going to be hard to tell who is RB1, because I think if Moss pans out to what we think he will, I think that it's going to be split carries, whatever the situation calls for. One other thing I would say is I think we got to be a little careful with Zach Moss in that we kind of have a recency bias, I think, effect with drafting a 3rd round running back, where I think a lot of Bills fans probably say, oh, okay, we drafted a 3rd round running back last year in Devin Singletary, and he turned out great. Like, he turned out amazing for us. Is that same thing going to happen with Zach Moss just because he's a 3rd round running back drafted by Brandon Beane? We can't be sure of that. We haven't seen him on a professional field yet. So let's not immediately jump to the conclusion that Zach Moss is going to be, the guy, just like Devin Singletary is the guy.
Yeah. And you made a great point there too about, like recency bias and stuff. Last year during the offseason, when we drafted Devin Singletary, I said, well, this guy's got a lot of tread in his tire from college. It would be really great if we redshirted Devin Singletary for a year. Turns out Devin Singletary got to training camp, looked fresh, looked good, beat out LaShawn McCoy. That could still very well be the case for Zach Moss this year. Give Zach Moss a year with light tread in his tires and, use and abuse Devin Singletary so the next year you can come out 50-50, when maybe Moss is more ready for it and get that body right. So that's something like I use that as an example of something that could happen last year, didn't come to fruition, but maybe it comes to fruition with a guy like Zach Moss, who has a lot of tread in his tire from college as well. Dave, you seem like you had something you wanted to add in here. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, like, look, you think about some of the history here with both of these guys. Like the Bills, they trade up, they get, Cody Ford in the 2nd round last year. They get a guy like Singletary in the 3rd round last year. You watch the Bills embedded video this offseason, and you see how enamored and how much they wanted Zach Moss. They were trying to trade up to get him. So I think that while we may not see it early, I agree with Max. Like, they're not going to just hand the reins over to a rookie early. I think there is certainly a plan for Zach Moss to be involved in this offense in some capacity early on. Whether that's unlimited touches early, that's fine. But they're going to make it. I think they're going to make some concerted effort to get him involved in some kind of packages early in the season. And that may only amount to 5 touches a game early. But look, to Jeremy's point, like Singletary came out that first game last year on limited touches, did something with it. And we saw kind of that go by the wayside, a few after, he got injured. But I will say about this is that Singletary's body, to me, while he's a great balanced guy and he can shed tackles, I don't know that his body is the type of body that can handle 300, 315 carries a season. So getting back to Max's point, there won't be a true bell cow here. I mean, this was never really the case when they had D'Angelo and Jonathan Stewart in Carolina. I mean, like this is not like something where I think we should expect to see like Singletary getting like 300 plus carries in a season. I just don't see that happening.
All right. Before we move on to Max's topic, I do want to quickly give a shout out to the commissioner of my fantasy football league and my fellow high school graduating classmate, Jordan Palucci. He wants me to say Ashwini on the air. Have you guys ever watched the league? They have their fantasy football trophy called the Shiva. We have ours called the Ashwini. So I just want to give him a quick shout out. He's been pestering me for 3 weeks now. I said on air, you can leave me alone now, Jordan. All right. We got a quick super chat from Pierre, it looks like here. Dave, can you pull that up real quick?
Yep, got it here. Jeremy, were you on NFL Basement Pod as Jay Sullivan? I was wondering that too. You kind of sound like him.
I've heard it. This question, but I'm not gonna.
I've heard it. I guess I don't know if there's a similarity, but
it's a freak coincidence, I believe.
Yeah, different guy, different skill set. I don't. No, not me. That's another guy.
You're not fooling.
Thanks for asking.
I believe it.
All right. Do you think he'll ever make an appearance on the NFL Basement again, or is he officially retired?
I think he just made an appearance on their new
Yes, I do, Pierre.
Today.
Yes, I do.
I just happened to listen to their episode today, and he was back. And I think he might be back in the future. Maybe, I don't know. But again, different guy. Yeah, not me.
Sure do.
Right.
I sure do hear it.
All right. So, Max, what is the topic you wanted to throw out at us tonight?
All right. So what I want to bring to the table is kickers, because we love kickers. Kickers are kind of the run.
Notice Steve taking a drink there after you said that.
Yeah. I feel like the kickers are kind of the run of a roster, and we got an interesting kicker battle this year: Steven Hauschka and Tyler Bass. And I want to kind of talk about who do we think is going to win this job.
Jeremy, you got a take here?
Yeah. So, I mean, last season they towards the end they put in a waiver claim on Chase McLaughlin, and because of that, all of a sudden Hauschka started hitting his field goals. So to me, McBean has stated that they're not 100% confident in Hauschka. And now they draft somebody in the 6th round. So to me, like it's more of a match with Hauschka. I mean, I think they had the pick, so they said, let's just go for it. Let's see what happens. He said it's Hauschka's job to keep or something along those lines.
It's Hauschka's job to lose, I believe is what Brandon Bean said.
Job to lose. I'm sure just like it was McCoy's job to lose last year. Yeah. So who knows how much we can take that. But I think if I'm McBean, I think they want Bass to win the job. Like they want him to. I'm not going to say they're going to give it to him, but I think they want him to win the job. That's my take on it.
We want to thank Davian Price for becoming a new member. He's a regular here, but he's now finally a member of, I believe Rico calls it the Bing Squad, right? Am I allowed to say that? Pierre, am I actually allowed to say Bing Squad on air? Am I allowed to say Bing Squad or Bing,
You're fired,
Bing? No, but thank you, Davian. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. No one make fun of my Bing impressions. That wasn't an impression. I was just saying it. No one can ever recreate the way Rico says it. So I'm just going to say it in an extremely monotone voice to be the exact polar opposite. Welcome to the Bing Squad. Bing, biggity bing. All right. So F the Jets says I hate the Jets, so thank you for that. Your
Love the name.
your weekly reminder. So
Weekly reminder.
That's a
reminder.
weekly thing for you guys?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, he's
Oh,
on
I
there
love
every
it.
time.
I love it. Can I meet this guy?
Yeah. Yeah. Go right ahead.
I will. I'll tell you what. My take on Bass is kind of changing. So where I was kind of in your boat earlier, where I was saying like, they just want to give Hauschka some competition. They want to rest his leg. They want to they invested so much money in him. I think they would want a veteran kicker, like all of these things. I'll say it when I'm done with my take here, Pierre. But Matthew Perino just did a really good article at NewYorkUpstate.com. You really should check it out. And he talked to the kicking coach at Georgia Southern, a guy who was there specifically to be the sort of coach for Tyler Bass. So the coach at Georgia Southern saw how much talent Tyler Bass had and said, I got to go get this guy who coached at Ohio State, Youngstown State, Jeff Wilkins, not Mike Hopkins, Mike Nugent. I got to go get this guy and I need to bring him in to teach Tyler Bass and to coach Tyler Bass for the next 4 years. And sure enough, he brought him in and he coached up Tyler Bass. And there was this whole article about finding the sweet stroke, no pun intended, for any other sort of activities, but finding the sweet stroke, like all of those things. And this guy's kicking 75-yarders. You saw the mistake the Bills made last year of letting Chase McLaughlin go. And they try to bring him back. They try to put him on the practice squad, all of these things. It failed. So last year, Sean McDermott, I think, went against the grain a little bit. And that Cleveland game sticks out the most. There was numerous occasions where they could have kicked a field goal from 50-plus yards in a very tight game where they chose to go for it. Is Sean McDermott just naturally more aggressive and learning from the past and becoming some analytical guru? Or did he just not trust his kicker from 50-plus? And if Stephen Hauschka gets in there and can't kick from 50-plus, and Tyler Bass can just be within the margin of error from inside of 50, I think it's going to be Tyler Bass's job. Just because I don't think Sean McDermott, I swear, it's what the article said, sweet stroke. The sweet stroke, the perfect stroke, it was some kind of stroking. There was stroking. The word stroke was in every other sentence in that article.
All right, we got to move past this.
So
You are.
Listen, I don't run your show. I don't run your show.
No, he's
right.
burning up right now.
Got a lot to offer on this.
So, the article really resonated with me, I will say. But anyway, if Tyler Bass can just be within the margin of error inside 50 yards, Andrew Miller with the. Anyway, okay. If Tyler Bass can just be within the margin of error inside 50, I think the job is his, to be honest with you. So, yeah, my take has changed from thinking Stephen Hauschka was the odds-on favorite to thinking it could truly be a 50-50 comp. How about you, Dave?
I mean, I'd rather kind of go down the route of letting the rookie, assuming he does a good job in camp, I'd rather go with the rookie and let go of Hauschka maybe a year early. I mean, Hauschka can still kick in the NFL, but my point is like, I'd rather go, we've seen guys kind of like get cut from other teams, like the Blair Walshes, the Dan Baileys, right? And they kind of pop up on other teams. And like Dan Bailey's been a great kicker. Dallas got rid of him. They went with the younger guy, Brent Mayer. Brent Mayer has a freaking cannon leg. And like, yeah, he missed a couple, but they've got their kicker now for like the next 10 years. So I think the Bills need to start thinking about that. They drafted this guy in the 6th round. If he's got the leg and he's within that margin of error, like you said, I think it's got to be Tyler Bass because, Hauschka's at the end of his career or towards the end of his career. Like you're going to draft this guy in the 6th round and then cut him. And then you're going to have to find a kicker again, probably the next offseason or the one after. So I think as long as he does a good job in camp and kind of does what he can to just like not totally lose the competition, then it probably is Tyler Bass's job. And what's going on in the comments? Because you guys keep laughing.
There's a lot of stroking. They're really stroking the fire of this conversation right now.
Are they stroking your ego though? Is the question.
When it comes to Tyler Bass, one sentiment that I'm hearing some Bills fans say, one thing Bobby on the Instagram, who runs the Buffalo Fanatics Instagram, has been saying a lot. He's saying, you don't draft a kicker to cut him. I disagree with that sentiment. I think he's a 6th round pick. I think you can cut him easily. He's a late rounder. He's got the leg. He's got the rocket leg to pair with the rocket arm of Josh Allen. And I think Tyler Bass, I think he's developing a little bit of a kind of a cult type following in Bills Mafia. Think back to Kiko Alonso's sort of cult following. I think we need to build up a kind of a Tyler Bass, the legend of Tyler Bass a little bit in Bills Mafia.
The Bass Bros.
Yeah, I think I'm seeing a lot of love for this guy. He can kick it a million yards. I think everyone's heart, a lot of Bills Mafia's hearts want Tyler Bass to win the job. I think we all love Steven Hauschka though too. Yeah. And I think Hauschka really is the favorite. I believe Brandon Beane when he says he's the favorite to win the job. He's been on, he went on a media tour recently where he's going on every show and he was saying that, it's his job to lose. So I truly believe that. So it's a tough call for me, but I guess in the end I will say, I'll say the rookie gets it, Tyler Bass.
Yeah,
I think
I'll tell you what. Oh, sorry, Jeremy, you can go.
I just want to say if Bass hits like one field goal in preseason, if there is one like over 50 yards, then I think the Bills they're not gonna want to make the same mistake as last year, and I think he's gonna get the job because
sorry.
Chase McLaughlin he hit like a 50-something yarder, and was it the Vikings game in preseason, and a lot of people were like, oh, he just basically got himself a contract somewhere, but I know Hauschka did too. So, but look what happened to Hauschka. Obviously, you saw the confidence in him waver by the McBean. So I think if Bass can do something similar, I think they're going to be too afraid to make that same mistake again, and they might keep him on.
Cody chiming in with the super chat, and I don't know, maybe I'm inspired by your guys' appearance tonight, but maybe we should call him Tilt Money Maker, because another super chat here coming in from Cody Finney says, Tilt Money, great point. Better to get rid of a guy, 1 year early than 1 year too late. I like this comment here, or I'm actually inspired by this comment here from Andrew Miller. He says, I feel like Beane doesn't waste picks. And I believe I made this comment on a previous vidcast where the thing that I'm feeling this year is the Bills try to trade up for Zach Moss. And I think the Bills were trying to trade up in a couple of rounds. I sort of feel like I think they were trying to trade up for an offensive lineman at one point. Mm-hmm. So while we think that Beane doesn't want to waste draft picks, he was trying to get rid of those late rounders. He didn't want to keep them. He wanted to trade them up to guarantee himself Zach Moss. He wanted to trade them up to draft an offensive lineman instead of Jake Fromm.
Yeah, so but that's not a waste, though. That's not a waste. The waste is if you draft a guy and then cut him. That's a waste.
But I feel like that almost makes me think that these later round picks were expendable because they were trying to get rid of them. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
I know what you're saying.
Too. Yeah,
you use them as capital to move up and then get a better prospect. But if you don't have that option to move up and then draft the guy just to draft them because you expect to cut him, then that's flawed logic. I think you shouldn't be doing that.
We got some.
Can I say, Steve?
Yeah, go for it, man.
I look at the later round picks. First off, 2 wide receivers drafted was surprising to me. A kicker was somewhat surprising to me. 7th round picks, I mean, they might as well be undrafted. So I kind of agree with the point that maybe he was just taking a swing on some of these because, did we need after getting Diggs and having the wide receiver core we had, did we need 2 wide receivers in this draft? I don't think anybody would have thought we were going to draft 2 wide receivers. A kicker was a little surprising. Jake Fromm in the 5th round was a little surprising. So some of those picks to me seemed like he said, you know what, at this point in this round, I'm pretty comfortable with what I have. So I feel like I can kind of take a swing on these players in these positions at this point. And maybe because he wasn't able to trade up. So he said, I'm going to go with these ones.
Yeah, and if you don't have legitimate competition for Steven Hauschka, a guy who struggled towards the tail end of last year, then why not bring in a guy like Tyler Bass to compete with him at least? And they're not just going to hand him the job. So this is a funny comment from Corey. Drafting T. Bass will turn out to be a stroke of genius. Steve, man, you're never going to let this one down. That's got to be your new. That's got to be your new thing. Stroke the gavel as the judge.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
I think the gavel's got to be upside down for that.
That's good to be.
Right.
I think if a judge starts stroking a gavel, I don't know if you should be worried or finding that courtroom. I don't know if you're. I don't know.
Right. I'm 3,000 miles away from it. It's okay.
All right. So Ryan Teal, one of our regular super chatters, says, "Have a good night, everyone. I think this conversation was no longer was no longer stroking his interests, or
Sorry.
stoking his interests.
Oh my God.
All right, we're just going to move on. We actually went through real quick, but how are you guys game to stay an extra 15 minutes to answer some questions?
Oh,
even though
yeah.
we went a little long with our regular topic tonight.
Yeah.
All right, so we are now opening it up, ladies and gents, to a Q&A. You can ask us whatever you want. Again, obviously, super chatters get priority, but throw those topics out there, and we will talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. And we'll start, I believe, Dave, you have a comment here that you're pulling up?
Yeah. Cody's been on fire tonight with the comments, so I'm going to give him first shout here in the Q&A section. So we'll talk about this comment, and I guess we could turn it into a question as well. But Cody says, I like the Jake Fromm pick. 3 years from now, he'll net us a second round or first round pick. Now, we've seen this in the past where teams draft quarterbacks every year, and then down the road, as QB needy teams kind of feel like they need to make a move, they go out to the likes of, let's say, a New England Patriots and trade for a Matt Castle or trade for a Jacoby Brissett, or even with us trading A.J. McCarron for a fifth rounder. I get it wasn't a first, second, but quarterbacks get traded and they have value. So is Cody right here in drafting Jake Fromm in the fifth round? Although maybe it wasn't a need on the surface, was this a valuable pick anyway because it could net us some future draft capital down the road?
I have the interjection.
Let's hear it.
I think about what Bean has been doing with offensive linemen and depth, and I wonder if maybe he's just trying to do the same thing with quarterbacks almost. Obviously, the value was too good. A lot of people had Fromm going maybe in the third round, and he was available in the fifth. So maybe Bean, again, just like his offensive lineman, he's like, you know what, I can snatch this person up for pretty cheap and hold on to him. And just like he did with Bodine and Wyatt Teller, surprisingly, maybe he could get that pick or even more in return. But a quarterback, if they perform just a little bit more, could probably get you more than just a fifth round pick or a sixth. So, yeah, that's my opinion.
I think a lot of it'll be dependent on what he does in the preseason, because his name recognition, I think, would be up there with a Jimmy Garoppolo of the world, right? So New England drafted a guy with a lot of name recognition going into the draft. Even though he was a small schooler, he had name recognition, Jimmy Garoppolo, from the pre-draft process. So this is a guy with name. He's played in big games. Everyone knows who he is. So maybe this is a guy who can come in and light up the preseason and really light up his draft or his trade value. On the other hand, I think as a player, he's more maybe like a Nick Mullins than he is a Jimmy Garoppolo. And Nick Mullins had a really good stretch in San Francisco where he played some good games when Jimmy Garoppolo was hurt. I think if Jake Fromm can come in and operate an offense the way Nick Mullins operated that offense in San Francisco, I think the Bills could net a pretty significant draft pick for him between that and the name recognition combined. My only issue, I think, is I don't think that preseason tape is going to be enough to really get immense value out of him. I think it's going to have to take Josh Allen getting hurt and him doing it in the regular season for the Bills really to maximize his value. And I really hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, Matt, go ahead.
So yeah, I think first of all, he was a great value pick, an outstanding value pick in the fifth round. A lot of people expected him to go third round. And yeah, it's interesting that he's kind of an anti Josh Allen. He doesn't have the arm strength. He's a lot like Matt Barkley in that sense. And yeah, preseason tape, it's just preseason. If he's able to get any sort of game action and he looks competent, if he looks above average from what we thought he would be, I think that even if he performs good, maybe not great in any sort of relief time during the regular season, I think that's going to, boost his stock up immensely, just for being so young. And, God forbid if Josh Allen got injured and he had to take over the reins, he is a rookie and you don't really know what you're going to get from him. So if he looks anything close to good, I think you got great trade bait.
Mm-hmm.
The Matt Flynn
quick
effect.
question here from Scott. Is Saints guard still available? Larry Warford. Yeah, he is still available. Hasn't signed with anyone as of yet. I know this has been kind of a guy that on Instagram, we've asked this question a lot, or fans have asked the question a lot to the Instagram channel on Buffalo Fanatics. Who's a guy that's still out there in free agency that we'd like to sign? And Warford's name comes up a lot. I mean, look, we've got the cap space. That's not the issue, right? It's a matter of like, is this the right time to bring him in? That's obviously going to mean a guy like Feliciano gets supplanted out of the starting lineup, which kind of leads us into the next question I want to ask you guys. And this one's a good one. Who is our best offensive lineman and who will be the surprise cut? I don't know if they mean surprise cut from the offensive line or just surprise cut in general, but Ryan asks, and Ryan, I believe, was a super chatter from last week, so we got his question in here. Who is our best offensive lineman? So, Steve, maybe we start with you on this one.
Oh, Jeremy looks like he wants to say something. Jeremy, you can go ahead. You had your hand raised. You had your hand raised. You were a good student. You can go.
I didn't see that. Sorry.
It's okay. I think our best offensive lineman is Mitch Morse. And I know Deion Dawkins took a step forward, but I feel like Deion Dawkins' play depends on who is next to him. He had Quentin Spain, who played very well. So I think he plays well, but Mitch Morse came in, and you never heard his name, and I keep hearing if you don't hear his name, that's a good thing. So I think Mitch Morse is our best offensive lineman. Dawkins is close, but again, we saw last year if somebody good isn't playing next to Dawkins, it seems like that affects his play. So for me, I want to say Mitch Morse.
I'd agree with that. I think Mitch is, he's the highest paid man, so you got to go where the money says. And you're right. You don't hear his name. He's a center. He's not a sexy, player to talk about. But
have you seen him? He's pretty sexy. He's got a.
He looks just like you. That's the thing.
He does actually.
Yeah. Wow. You know what? Yeah, I never thought about that.
He's like a
Mitch Morse
closer to this.
Mitch Morse is just a thick Jeremy.
Yeah,
and a foot taller.
Probably, yeah. But yeah, I think he's our best guy, and I think second, obviously, on that list is Deion Dawkins. He's been reliable for us in a very tough position to play in the National Football League at left tackle, and he's been solid for us. It was a little up and down, but it was much more good than bad this year for Deion. And I think we're confident in him as our left tackle of the future.
Sorry.
Look, guys, Morse, center is becoming a sexy position again. I'm going to say it. I think Morse is the best offensive lineman. And I think we had this conversation at length an offseason ago before we made the signing that we really needed to upgrade at center. We tried with Bodine. We tried with guys like, since
Ryan Groy.
Since Eric Wood's gone, it's been just we take it for granted, right? How important that position is. So to me, it's Morse. Although Dawkins will end up being the highest paid whenever he gets a new contract, Morse is still the best offensive lineman on the team. And I've been told, you guys tell me, I've been told I look like Wes Welker. Do you guys see that at all?
I can see it.
Probably not. I don't know.
I can see it.
No, I see it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. There we go. So we got a Wes Welker and we got a Mitch Morse, and so we got to figure out who Steve and Max look like, and we'll figure that out.
Here's my hot take for the offensive line. I know that it's Deion Dawkins or Mitch Morse is the easy answer, but I just want to float something different out there. And I'm going to say my answer is Cody Ford.
Ooh.
He is the best offensive lineman on the team, playing the wrong position. If you get Cody Ford into guard, Cody Ford into guard, I think you might have yourself a Pro Bowler.
I don't know if you want to go down that road.
I'm gonna go with that. I have one comment, guys, that I need to flash up here, and it's from Jack Patrick, one of our YouTube viewers. He says, Bojorquez has a Pro Bowl year this year.
Ooh.
I have no takes on this. Other than to say, Jack, I hope you're right. Here's my statement. Here's a statement I will make because everyone knows my disdain for punters. Jack, if you are right and Bojorquez has a Pro Bowl year this year, I will do the following. 1, I will buy a Corey Bojorquez jersey and wear it routinely on this show. 2, I will buy you, Jack Patrick, a Corey Bojorquez jersey. And 3, I will buy a third Corey Bojorquez jersey, and I will raffle it off on this show to our super chatters. I am willing to make a $300 investment if Corey Bojorquez has a Pro Bowl year this year, just because I think it's like lightning hitting me square in the face. I believe those are the odds of Corey Bojorquez making the Pro Bowl.
Question.
Yes.
Punters get to go to the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, you saw Brian Moorman got lit up by Sean Taylor years ago.
They
Remember
need
that
someone
one?
to
That was-
hold
that was
on
in
the
the Pro
extra
Bowl.
points. They
I
need someone to
thought-
hold on the extra points.
I thought they just brought a fan in and they punted it or something.
No, they need someone to hold for the extra points and the field goals, and they need someone to get the real players the water
Oh,
on
look
the
at this one.
sideline.
Who picked this
There
one?
you go. This is a good question. Truth to Hearts, he's a regular as well, so I want to get his question in here. I think he's talking about like if we had to pick one of these two guys to make the team this year. And Truth, if that's the wrong way to interpret the question, just let us know in the comments. But if Kroom or Sweeney are the guys, and that's like the last tight end you got to pick to make this roster, who you guys have here in this situation? Max, you want to take this one?
I'll go. Yeah, sure. Let's go. I'll go with Sweeney. The Sweeney Weenies, I believe it is.
Adam Nanini's
Adam Nanini's fan club. He loves Tommy Sweeney, and he's been.
Sweeney.
It's Sweeney. I really don't know what to say because, truth be told, I don't know a lot about Jason Kroom. Tommy Sweeney, to me, I think he's younger. He's the more recent acquisition for this team, and he had some good performances in the preseason. Again, I remember he played well against the Panthers in the preseason. I don't know how much stock you place in that, but I think it's Sweeney.
I think the comments agree with the viewers agree with you there. I think Sweeney's the guy. Does anybody? I'll put it this way: does anybody think it's not Sweeney if it's Sweeney or Kroom? Of Sweeney or Kroom?
I think there's a chance there could be both.
I don't think so.
Like I can envision a world where Tommy Sweeney straight up beats out Lee Smith for that last sort of blocker / receiver tight ending role because Sweeney can do both, and just like Lee Smith can. Well, Lee Smith can't do both. I think he had one catch last year. The Tennessee Titans were so surprised he was running a route that he was wide open in the end zone. But you know what I'm saying? The third tight end, you want them to be an inline blocker. So Sweeney's got the upper hand on Kroom, who was a former wide receiver. But I can see a world where Sweeney makes as the third tight end. They cut Lee Smith, leaving that extra spot for either a seventh receiver or a fourth tight end. And in some weird way, shape, or form, Jason Kroom is able to beat out Isaiah Hodgins and Duke Williams. Like, weirder things have happened. So I can see a possibility for Jason Kroom, but I think more likely, one, he can blow it up, have a big training camp and be trade bait, or two, maybe another year on the practice squad for a guy like Jason Kroom as that sort of developmental tight end. Maybe fill in Tyler Kroft's role in a year or two.
I think this is one of those position battles that we would need a preseason for. So many other position battles, we could say, there's so much continuity. Like, I think, okay, that would be a really good preseason battle. But if we don't get it, I mean, Kroom had some flashes last year when our offense was terrible. Sweeney had some flashes this year in preseason, the first game and the very last game. The very last game against the Jets, he had like 70-something receiving yards. So for me, I would lean a little bit towards Sweeney. I would love to see Kroom maybe bounce back and win the job. That would be cool. Just like I would love to see Robert Foster bounce back and win a wide receiver job. But that's my stance.
So here's a good one from James. James has been on the show as a comment, had some comments for a few shows in a row now. So this is an interesting one. So Ed Oliver, over under 9 sacks this year. He had 5 last year as a rookie. I guess suspension uncertainty aside, we don't know when or if that will come down. Do you guys see Ed Oliver breaking out to the tune of more than 9 sacks this year, or is this a little bit overzealous?
I think it's overzealous for a defensive tackle. That's a lot of sacks, and we haven't even talked about the fact that Ed Oliver, he's going to get. Did he get suspended already? It's been a long summer, guys.
Not yet.
But he will, and it could be however many games it is. That's a big loss, and so you're already taking that chunk of the season out. Once you get back into that locker room, is he going to have any rust on his shoulders? Is he going to need to, get a game or two to kind of get his feet under him? Probably not, but that is a lot of sacks for a defensive tackle.
I'm gonna go with a little under, but what did he get? 4 or 5 last season?
He had 5 last year.
5.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. Maybe he can get to it'd be close. I want to say under, but barely. I think
it's a good number, right? I think it's a good number for him.
Yeah.
I think that 8 to 9 range is doable. We saw Jordan Phillips last year. Obviously, a different position, but yeah. But I mean, look, Oliver's the guy that's capable of getting to this number, right? But I actually like that number. I think that's a good number for him to kind of target this year. Steve, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm with Andrew. I think under 9 because I think there is too much of a rotation. I think me and you talked about this at length last year. I like the fact that Sean McDermott rotates, and I know that we have the depth to rotate, but sometimes you got to let your star be a star. And it's going to be really interesting if Ed Oliver shows up on the football field this year and he is just, balls to the walls and is clearly way better than all the other defensive tackles and is an absolute game breaker. Are you going to play him 60% of the snaps? Are you going to play him 55% of the snaps? What percentage of the snaps are you going to give Ed Oliver? Are you going to break that mold of the rotation if he shows that he's an X factor player? It's going to be really interesting to see. I hope Ed Oliver comes out this year and crushes it so we can get an answer to that question.
Yeah, I agree. This is a fun question from Chris. Chris has also been on the show a couple times as a comment section. So this one's going a little outside the box, so we can just kind of run this off quickly. Also in the comment section, everyone can answer. We'll shout some out here. So what college team does everyone follow? Now, I follow different teams for different sports in college just because where I'm from in New York, there wasn't a ton of college big-time programs. So I'll start it out for football. College football, for me, it's NC State, right? That's where I went to school. I was there for Phillip Rivers' senior season. Was spoiled a bit. NC State's been spoiled a bit with quarterbacks over the last decade or so. We've had Rivers, we've had Wilson, Mike Glennon's in the NFL, Jacoby Brissett. So we've had some good teams there at NC State quarterbacks wise. We haven't really ever competed too much for ACC crowns, but it's been fun rooting for that team and getting to see Phil play that senior year.
That's a pretty good one. For me, when it comes to college football, let me start off with my college basketball team. I live in Connecticut, and I'm a big UConn Huskies fan. UConn's men's, women's basketball. So title town, really, for college basketball for me, which leads me into my college football team, the UConn football Huskies program, which is a complete disaster. So I don't even – so – listen, they're not even my team because I can't even have the heart to follow them whatsoever. They are a complete disaster of a program. They can't hire a head coach that's competent at all. Recruiting's a nightmare. No one wants to go to Connecticut for football. I guess that's my college team. My college team is pretty much whoever's I think is the underdog school in the group of 5 that I think can make a bowl game. So whichever that is, it's a rotating yearly basis for me.
Thanks.
I'll go ahead, Devon. Say, the college I went to, and I'm currently at 2 different ones. They don't have a football team, so I've always kind of struggled with this. How do I pick a college football team? Maybe that's a question you guys can answer after this. But so since I don't have a specific tie to a football team, and I'm just going with football because I don't care about any other sports. I'm going to say it. I'm sorry if that offends you. I only care about football. I'll just turn on SPN. Just whatever game just looks good, I'll just watch. So I don't have one, I guess, to be honest. I guess USC is close, but so is UCLA. But I don't ever like being looked at as a bandwagon. So when it comes to college football stuff, I just kind of watch it right now.
All right.
And we know where Steve's going.
I got a couple things I want to shout out in the comments section. First of all, what a great story from Elliot here. University of Florida saved my son's life at birth. I'm assuming their medical center. He says, "Go Gators."
Wow.
That's a great reason to root for a football team right there, if any. Yeah, put that awesome one up there. Eric Weinberg says San Diego State Aztecs. Rocky Long, baby. West Coast is the best coast. So I appreciate some of these comments. I'm cheating a little bit. I have 2. And there's a reason for it because one, kind of like Max here, my first team isn't. I don't want to say they're not a real team, but they play in the MAC. There's nothing better than Tuesday night action, Wednesday night action in November. By the way, some of the most underrated football on the planet. But the University of Buffalo Bulls, my alma mater. You don't see it. Do I have them around? I don't have them around. They're in the corner of my office here. I have Naaman Roosevelt's nameplate from his locker, and I have Drew Haddad's jersey plate from his jersey. University of Buffalo through and through. I was at school there with the likes of Ernest Jackson, Naaman Roosevelt, Drew Willie, Khalil Mack, Bo Oliver. Absolutely love my alma mater, the University of Buffalo. They're doing big things. Love it. And my other big team, my new inherited team from the city I now moved to, Forkham, Sun Devils, baby. Arizona State, the best uniforms in college football, the best color scheme in college football. I love wearing my ASU gear out and about. My fiance is an Arizona State alum. I will be going to Arizona State next fall to start working on my doctorate. So pumped about getting to wear those ASU colors. Herm Edwards, coach, is there, and Herm Edwards is just like a human idol of mine. He's like Sean McDermott's grandpa. So
he's amazing.
Was it Brandon Ayuk? Was Brandon
Ayuk
the Sun Devil that was drafted?
Brandon Ayuk, N'Keal Harry, Eno Benjamin, you name it. So
Who
Sun Devil
drafted
Stadium
Brandon
is
Ayuk?
a good time.
Was
Brandon
it the
Ayuk, San Francisco,
49ers?
first round. Yep.
49ers.
And fun fact, my UB Bulls, they are Forkham, so I can, or no, they are Hook'em, so I can do the bull horns with the little fingers curled like this. And then ASU is Forkham, so all I got to do, I can root for them at the same time. I just got to move my finger.
NC State Wolfpack is this too.
The people on the audio side are like, what is he doing right now? But
In
I am
case
just going
you're
back and
ever
forth between
playing
Forkham
each
and Hook'em.
other, that will come in handy.
Yeah, I can just figure my way through the whole game. Oh, shoot.
Oh, my
Come on.
God.
What is wrong with me today?
There's the next one. Commenters,
That's-
get it in.
That's gotta be it. That's
Yikes.
we gotta
Let's
wrap on
This is
that.
the most X-rated Bills guy of all time. We'll go to the side you're bringing out in a.
Because you brought on Max and I. Let's see.
Hey, this isn't our fault. This is all you, man.
That's true. That's true.
All right. Do we have Scott Blakely says, "Who cares if this is the Bills channel?" I'm sorry, Scott. I didn't mean to hurt you.
Can I bring up
It's the
a
last thing
comment?
we ever wanted to do.
Can I bring up
What?
a comment? Can I bring up
Sure.
a
Go
comment?
ahead.
How
Go
about this
ahead.
one? What do we do with Yeldon? Does he make the team? We got Moss, we got Singletary, we got Taiwan Jones. So we might not even have an RB3
Christian Wade.
because
Christian Wade.
we may not even have an RB3 based on last season, like how things ended up. Like Yeldon was like inactive most of the games. But now we have Zach Moss, who is almost like a more effective like Frank Gore. So yeah, that was an interesting question. I hope you guys aren't mad that I showed it on the screen.
I think he does make the team as of right now, as it stands. I think we keep the 4 running backs. We have Taiwan Jones for special teams, and then you have Singletary, Moss, and Yeldon as the true runners of the group. So that's kind of how I see it. Like with last year, where you had Singletary, Gore, Yeldon, and Perry. So similar situation this year with Taiwan being the 4th guy, special teams.
Yeah, it was one of the things that I've been stating and like banging on the door for is if Tommy Sweeney can beat out Lee Smith in training camp, we don't need to keep 4 tight ends. We can keep 3. I think one of the reasons why we kept 4 tight ends last year was because of, injuries. Croft was injured. Knox pulled that hammy. Like there was injuries all around. It was pretty much just Tommy Sweeney and Lee Smith going into that week 1 game. I believe Dawson Knox might have played, might not have played. I don't know. But they were very thin. So they had to carry 4 almost all year. Now, on the flip side of that, if we only have to carry 3 this year, I've been saying week in and week out, we can use it on a 7th wide receiver. Like we can keep the big guy and we can keep McKenzie. But the more I think about it, the more I think it probably makes more sense that we keep 4 running backs. Yeldon to sort of be that veteran presence that you're going to want because you're not going to want to rush Zach Moss in there as much as we don't want to talk about it as fans. I think the coaching staff is going to want it. And 2, I think Taiwan Jones is going to take over that special teams role as a gunner that Robert Foster was doing. So as much as I want that extra sort of player to go to the wide receiver position, I think it's probably going to end up in the running back room.
I agree, because when we lost Singletary, and then it came down to just basically Gore and Yeldon, for me, I was like, I don't like this at all. Like, I wish there was like something a little bit more. So I would much
We went
rather
from 4 to 2.
yeah, I would much rather go with like 4 running backs and 7 wide receivers. Absolutely.
All right, we got a question from Dominic Iverson on Facebook. He says, should we be concerned at linebacker? Seems like one injury to Edmonds and Milano, and we are in trouble. Does anyone have a take they want to share here?
I would like to pose, who are you guys more afraid of losing, like Edmonds or Milano? We only lost Edmonds for one game, but I feel like when we lost Milano, like the defense was like notably worse or not as good. So I'm building off of Dominic's question. I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is really concerning because, but at the same time, I feel like this is the same question that every team has to answer. Like every single team in the league, it's like, what happens if this player goes down? What happens if this player goes down? Like you saw last year in San Francisco, what's his name? The guy they signed for like $100 million go down. The guy they signed from Tampa. And
Quan
D.
Alexander,
Greenlaw,
I think.
Yeah, Quan Alexander. And D. Greenlaw stepped up and became some 5th-round gem like Matt Milano did. So somebody else in the comment sections mentioned Voshon Joseph, who could be the X factor here, because I mentioned Voshon Joseph before. I would like to see the Bills move Voshon Joseph over to the other side and play him at that sort of Buffalo nickel spot and sort of have those 3 linebackers that are sideline to sideline, can drop back or blitz, do the whole shebang. But at the same time, do you want to maybe keep Voshon behind Matt Milano so he's getting all of those reps in practice behind Matt Milano in case Matt Milano gets hurt? I think A.J. Klein would be the natural backup to Tremaine Edmonds. Definitely less athletic, but he understands the responsibilities of middle linebacker, has done it for Sean McDermott before. So it's not going to be the same, but I think we have those 2 bodies there that can make it serviceable. Hopefully it's not a long-term injury, but for a week or 2, I think we have the bodies to make it work.
Since
a lot of nickel.
Since we're talking about linebackers, can we laugh about how the Jets paid C.J. Mosley all that money and then he sat out like 95% of the season? That's funny. It. Just laugh. Moving on.
Yeah. To echo Judge's point, I as to every team has to answer that question of once our starters go down, and specifically when you have 2 stars like Milano and Edmonds, we're lucky that we have that amazing tandem at linebacker. We don't know what these guys behind them on the depth chart can do because we haven't seen them in, regular season game action. So it is a big unknown. And what I'd say is one of the greatest things about this team this season is we have depth galore at every position. And I'd say we have depth at the linebacker position as well. We just don't know. One of those guys, at the back end of the depth chart is going to step up. Is it going to be Voshon? Maybe it's the new linebacker, Tyler Matakevich. He's kind of a special teams guy, but who knows? Maybe he can step up. We are not. We don't. What?
Tyrell Dodson.
Yep.
Got in trouble last offseason, and the team stuck with him, so they must see something in that guy to keep him on the roster.
Exactly. So, yeah, I just say who's going to step up. I think, and you have those guys in the organization for a reason. You believe in them. If you have them there, so if someone goes down, they can step in.
Nicholas should have changed his logo like we asked him last time.
Yeah,
clown's creeping me out.
Freaking me out, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Scott. Scott can go to the bathroom right now. I don't want to offend Scott. You can go to the bathroom right now. I'm selfishly choosing this one here from Nicholas Evans because I tweet out my prediction all the time on Twitter to like 3 likes. So now we have 60 plus viewers in here live that get to listen to me and my prediction for the Monday Night Football crew this year. And you guys can share yours, but I think you need the voice, right? I think ESPN was so selfish to think that they were better than Mike Tirico and they could throw anyone in there. So they let Mike Tirico walk. So I think as much as it sucks because I love Fowler and Herbstreit, I think you got to move Fowler over to Monday Night Football to do play-by-play. And I would love to see some combination of Pat McAfee, Louis Riddick, and Mina Kimes in the booth on Monday Night Football. 2 of those 3 I think would be a fire booth, an absolute fire booth, whether it's Fowler, Riddick, and Kimes or Fowler, Riddick, and McAfee. I think that would be an absolute fire booth, one that they could even sort of transition Peyton Manning into when they move forward to ABC. But I think it's about time that ESPN give us something more than just a bunch of old football players.
Here's my thing on this. I love the idea of Riddick and Kimes as the commentators, as for analysis. I'm not as big on Fowler as maybe you are. Like,
Really?
I think he's fine for college. Like, I think he does a good job, but like he just doesn't get it going for me like a guy like Tirico did, or like even like guys on CBS like Kevin Harlan. He's like a favorite of mine. Like I those guys get me more excited about big plays than Fowler does. Like, I'm not knocking Fowler because I think he does a great job with Herb Street on college football, but to me that seems like more like a testator type of bring. Well, meanwhile, it's like it just, I don't know. It doesn't do it for me like maybe it would for you guys.
I would agree with that. I think Fowler is more of a college guy. I just hear his voice and I think Rose Bowl. Like, I think Fowler just, he has to be that college guy, and he also does tennis. But yeah, I don't see Fowler transitioning to the NFL as effectively. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just don't see that voice working for the National Football League.
And I would just say, if it just comes to Monday Night Football in general, like if the Bills aren't playing, I don't care. That's it. You can put Max high on meth and Judge in full on rant mode, like going at it. That's fine. I don't care. You can put just ducks.
Ducks? Yeah.
I don't care who's doing. If it's the Bills, I don't care. But do you want me to? If it's the Bills, though, do you want me to? I don't even have a comment on that actually. So I don't care about Monday Night Football.
All right, there's a lot of MVP chants in the comment section. I didn't.
Pierre's
know
got it going again. He's got it going again in there. All the MVP chants are coming in.
Yeah, I didn't know they wanted us to talk about Tyler Bass more.
Yeah,
or Tyler Bass.
I tell you what. People love Tyler Bass, man. I don't. They can't get enough of him.
Well, who do they love more? Do they love Tyler Bass more, or do they love Duke Williams more, or do they love Christian Wade more?
Can I just say before we do anything, Stephen Hauschka has like a shelter dog like charity. Like, regardless if we cut him or not, I just want to say that's awesome, and that's very cool. So I'm sorry if we cut you, Stephen Hauschka, but that's really cool that you have that charity. I'm just putting that out there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that is cool.
No, that's fine. That's fine. All right, so I guess we'll end it on this one from Ryan. We got to believe, right? And Pierre's got the MVP chance going in the comments section. So I think that's a good way to kind of ride out the show here, is with those MVP chants. So any last parting takes from anyone before we sign off?
So are they chanting MVP chants at us?
No, for Josh Allen. For Josh Allen. Pierre does this every week.
Okay.
Josh Allen MVP chant. Oh, we got a last minute super chat in. Scott.
I coaxed Scott into this one. Scott, I coaxed you into this one, man. You fell right into my trap, Scott. He says, okay, let's stop the spam. Do you think Josh Allen will get MVP consideration? I say yes. I'll say this. My comment was, it's more than possible with Stephon Diggs and John Brown on the boundary, opening things up for the running game, opening things up for Cole Beasley, who he's got a great relationship with in red zone, and a guy like Dawson Knox, who's a knack machine, an offensive line coming back from year 2. All of the things that you need for Josh Allen to be an MVP are there. Maybe you could say Brian Daboll's holding him back. Maybe you can say Josh Allen's holding himself back. The only person standing in Josh Allen's way of being an MVP candidate is Josh Allen. If he can step up this year, if everything he's doing this offseason pays off, if him and Daboll can get in sync and he can get 40 touchdowns, I think is sort of my, what's the word I'm looking for? My threshold. He needs to get to 40. Whether combined rushing and passing, he needs to get to 40 to be in consideration, and the Bills have to have a winning record. If he gets to 40, the Bills will have a winning record, unless the defense absolutely collapses. So, it's in his hands. I wouldn't say he's out of consideration, but I'm happy to hop on that. I'm happy to hop on that train in June.
Yeah, he can be on a long list for now. If you're talking about 10 guys that could win MVP this year, he certainly could be on that list. I think 40 touchdowns certainly puts him into that conversation. If the Bills win the division with 10 wins or more, and he has 40 touchdowns, then there will be MVP consideration for him just by the sheer statistics, right? Given the schedule, how tough it is going to be this year, and winning that division. But again, he's got to go out and do it, right? Like you said, the roster around him is maybe the best it will be in his career. We don't know that for a fact, but this very well could be the best roster we have around Josh Allen in his entire career, given the contracts we're going to have to dole out after this season. So we have to strike while the iron's hot, so to speak, with the roster we have, and this could be the year for them.
Max,
we got another super chat here real quick. Sorry, Max, we're going to let you answer this one then. Does Josh Allen finally have that elusive 300-yard plus game? If so, when?
No, and he doesn't need it. He doesn't need it.
But you're saying he's not going to do it?
Well,
he ain't win that
okay.
300-yard game.
He does now have Stephon Diggs. Well, okay. The point I was trying to get across is he doesn't need it, but I think he will. I think he will have it. When you add Diggs, I think you're going to have at least one.
Pierce says week 1 he's going to get it.
Wow. I think you kind of have to say that if you think he's going to get MVP.
I would love it if Josh Allen just has like an impeccable career over like the next 10 years, wins a whole bunch of games, gets us to the playoffs, maybe gets us that Super Bowl, and never once throws a 300-yard game. Just never once.
Yes.
Just completely screw with that.
Just to mess with everyone.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
All those people who use that 300-yard game as a metric would be like, damn it, what am I going to use now? Like, just be looking around, probably looking at like completion percentage.
Fantasy football would hate him. It'd be great. I'm interested to see though. Let's say Josh Allen is not a super long shot in Vegas's eyes as an MVP candidate, and I'm interested to see how long does it take if Josh Allen goes out and has an outstanding season. How long into the season, or does it even? Do we reach the end of the season and is the national media still kind of slightly digging him? What will it take? Because eventually, if he starts improving even more and has an outstanding season, the narrative has got to shift. It's just interesting. I think an interesting take is Josh Allen doesn't have MVP consideration next season, yet he has an outstanding season. What happens then?
According to sportsbook.ag, he's the 15th. He's 15th on the list from an odd standpoint out of any player in the NFL to win MVP, which I think that's pretty strong, right? Considering they're basically saying that he's, it's obviously typically a quarterback award, but they're saying he's got the one of 15 best chances to win the MVP this year. So pretty good odds there.
Can I just say, combining the MVP element, the 300-yard games, Max and I were just talking about this on our last pod that's coming out on Saturday. Allen has so many safety blankets. So we're saying if Diggs is blocked, he's got John Brown. John Brown was covered by all the CB1s last season, and he still managed 1,000 yards. Now he's going to be covered by the second best. So if Diggs is covered, he's got Brown. He's got Beasley. He's got Knox. And if Moss or Singletary, they can both catch, are there providing pass protection or something, they can catch the ball. I think he's got I think that helps in the whole hierarchy of safety blankets, that he has even more options that he can throw to. And he's not afraid to scramble. He's not afraid to throw on the run. I think that is going to definitely help the case.
All right. We are going to end it with Stephen Murphy's comment here tonight. I think this is our longest show to date. We really appreciate it. The Bills Overdue guys brought some fire. You can catch them every weekend on the Buffalo Fanatics podcasting network. And I'm going to tell you what, we set a super chat record tonight. So number one, we're going to have you guys on this show again.
Yes, sir.
In the near future. and two, I know Pierre's watching. I'm thinking maybe it's about time we get you guys your own video show, because you were blowing up our super chats and blowing up our comment section. So you'll have me in your corner as your number one sponsor. So we're going to close it out with Stephen Murphy, who says, "Got to say, I appreciate all the Bills content from each of you guys. Can't thank y'all enough. Keeps me going." Thank you, Stephen. You guys are the reason why we do this. We absolutely love it. I'm going to take your comment away so you can see each of our Twitter handles again, at Judge Mathis, at Tilt Money, at Buffalornia, and at Cinco de Maxo. again, this is our social media of choice. I know some people are on things like Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok, but this is our social media platform of choice. So if you guys are on Twitter, straight up, hit us up, follow us. We will follow you back. If we don't follow you back, send us a completely degrading DM telling us what jerks we are.
Do it.
And then we
Just
will
send
guilt
Steve.
us into that follow.
Send
Yeah, just to me. Just send it to me. And we'll make sure we follow you.
I have
We
no
can
clue.
keep this conversation going long after the vidcasts and the podcasts are over, all week long. I'm on the West Coast, so I'm West Coast Twitter is freaky, man. I don't know. Jeremy, you know, West Coast Twitter can get freaky. So if there are any night owls out there or any West Coasters out there, hit me up on Twitter so West Coast Twitter gets a little less weird.
A lot of sexual innuendos on Steve on tonight's show. So
West Coast
like
Twitter
it.
is nothing. Oh, we got another one from Cody. Here. What does he have to say?
Double MVP. I don't think Pierre's even mentioned Super Bowl MVP yet. So he's taken Pierre's MVP and taken that up a notch. Super Bowl.
He
Cody,
did that in
this
my
is
Madden.
not
He did that in my
betting.
Madden league.
Cody will not win money from us by doing that. Just letting you know. But I like it.
All right, gentlemen, it was a pleasure. Truly a stroke of genius tonight's show. It was the most fun that I've had in a while. I appreciate it, gentlemen. We sign out the show the same way every time with just a, go Bills. So we're going to go bottom. We're going to go Max, and then we're going to go Jeremy, then we'll go me, and then we'll go Dave, and then we will go out. So we just need a go Bills from everybody as we head out here.
All right, I'll
So
start
Max,
it
we'll
off.
start with you.
I'll start it off. Go Bills.
Can I do like a quick promo before we go out though?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. We have a Bills Overdue Twitter, so Bills _ Overdue. It's new. I'm sorry, guys. All right. Go
Yeah,
Bills.
We had to do this. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go. I was supposed to go before. I wasn't trying to be last. I know I'm the moderator. I already got people yelling at me in the comment sections that I hog the mic. I didn't want
I
to
want
go
them
last.
to hate you more. I want them to hate you more.
Okay. All right.
No,
Go.
I'm just kidding.
Go Bills. Awkwardly waiting for the broadcast to end.